Thanks to the Audible original Impact Winter, a vampire apocalypse series, for sponsoring this video. Hey, welcome back Screen Crush, I'm Ryan Arey, and these are all of the Easter eggs, references, and little things you might have missed in episode 2 of The Walking Dead, Dead City. Negan and Maggie are pursuing the woman that scared the living hell out of me in last week's episode. So this set of double doors with the walker hands sticking through reminded me of the Don't Open Dead Inside door from the pilot episode of the original series.
Person, it clearly says don't dead open inside.
No, buddy, I'm telling you, it's
Don't dead open inside. I know how to read.
Okay, fine, man. Now look closely here and you'll... Oh my god!
Wow, what was that?
This just in, a large comet has struck the Earth, shrouding the entire world in darkness. More on this story as it develops.
Wow, that sounds serious.
Yeah, you gotta wonder if any of that's gonna come into play later in the video. Now back to what I was saying. Anyways, we see an elevator shaft, and this reminded me of two different moments from The Walking Dead. The first being this scene from season 4 when Maggie's sister Beth pushes this ex-police officer down an elevator shaft. And this scene from season 9 when Daryl Dixon goes toe-to-toe with Beta, a member of the villainous group The Whisperers. Maggie and Negan running through the city, plus Maggie's fear of heights on this ladder, reminded me of this moment between Maggie's late husband Glenn and Rick Grimes way back in season 1.
Right side, it'll be the fall that kills us.
Like the first episode had lots of references back to season 1 and 2 in the original series, I think this could be another subtle wink and a nod to the early days of The Walking Dead, and how these new spin-off series like Dead City are harkening back to those early days, laying the groundwork for a fresh start in the ongoing Walking Dead universe. Next, we get a closer look at the zipline system that we saw at the end of episode 1 when this guy was trying to escape from the Croat.
20 stories!
These zip lines are really cool and basically essentially replace the New York City subway system. And I just want to take a second to say how neat of an idea the zipline system is. New York streets are covered in walkers, so a zipline system between the neighboring skyscrapers is the perfect method of transportation in a post-apocalyptic New York. And then we cut over to New Hilltop. The original Hilltop was burned down by the Whisperers in the original series. And in last week's episode, we got a reminder from Maggie that Negan was there and participated in that burning.
Same setup, just had to relocate after you helped burn it down.
Granted, Negan wasn't there because he wanted to be, but because he was infiltrating the Whisperers to help our group win the war, which was a crucial first step to his redemption arc that is still unfolding in Dead City.
Hey, who's that guy? He looks shady.
That's just a customer, man.
Oh no, it's a vampire!
Oh yeah, I heard about this. It's just like that audio series Impact Winter, where the entire Earth is shrouded in darkness so the vampires are free to walk around.
Can you get this guy off of me? Jeez, man, it's just, you're too close. This is annoying.
What's Impact Winter? Well, I'm glad you asked. It's an Audible original audio series from executive producers of The Walking Dead and Travis Beacham, writer of Pacific Rim and creator of Carnival Row.
Just, come on, man, just get off me. I don't know why you get your own... Come on, dude, find your own space. This is just annoying. I got stuff to do.
Now, I got into Impact Winter because I love apocalyptic stories like The Walking Dead. So basically, a comet strikes the Earth, raising a cloud of dust that blots out the sun, so it's like always winter and always dark. And because it's always dark, vampires are able to emerge from the shadows. You see, in this world, vampires are real.
Yeah, I can see that, and they're just super irritating.
So like the scientific inspiration for the events of Impact Winter are very real, but the audio drama combines this with the fantastical element of vampires. The series adds so much to vampire lore that I had never heard before, and I don't want to spoil anything, but it like goes deep into history and lore while also set in a post-apocalyptic world. Mostly though, I got hooked on the characters. See, the lead is named Darcy, a vampire hunter who's trying to shield her younger sister from the realities of this harsh world they live in. Just to stay spoiler free, all I'll say is that Darcy might be the only person who can save the human race. This series is incredibly fun and very immersive. In fact, I actually signed up with Audible just so I could listen to season 2, which launches on July 13th. I mean, Audible's been putting together original blockbuster content that's essential listening, like the excellent Sandman series, which I highly recommend. See, series like Sandman and Impact Winter are right up there with streaming content from HBO and Netflix. In fact, I like this show so much we're doing breakdowns of season 2 and recapping all of season 1. So I highly recommend getting an Audible premium membership and listening to Impact Winter with our link in the description. Now, back to what I was saying. New Hilltop reminded me a lot of Terminus, the place where we saw the survivors travel to in season 4 in search of sanctuary. But it turned out that Terminus was led by a bunch of cannibals who locked Rick, Glenn, Maggie, and the rest of the gang in a train car waiting to be eaten. This shot had me wondering if New Hilltop may actually be where Terminus once stood. Here we even see what looks like derailed train cars or shipment containers. Terminus was abandoned and overrun at the end of season 4, but I can see Maggie recommending this as a big place that she she and her people could claim and rebuild as the new Hilltop. Here we can see farm equipment and people planting crops, harkening back to what Hilltop was historically known for, farming. Ginny is now at the Hilltop, and we hear this guy say to the class that Ginny comes from Oceanside. Oceanside being an allied community with Hilltop, Alexandria, and the Kingdom from later seasons of the main series. Yet another group that was once again under the thumb of Negan. But we know that Ginny isn't really from Hilltop. Negan revealed in the previous episode that he met Ginny on a farm and took her in after her dad died.
So why did that guy say she's from Oceanside?
Well, I think that's likely because that's what Maggie instructed them to say. She likely doesn't want any mention of Negan at Hilltop, so it was just easier to say that Ginny is coming from an allied group like Oceanside so she doesn't raise any eyebrows. When Maggie and Negan meet up in this new group, we see them sporting these badass custom-made nail gun looking things that can do this.
That was awesome.
We hear Negan call the old woman Pigeon Lady, which is a reference to the character of the same name from Home Alone 2, Lost in New York.
I'm like the birds I care for. People pass me in the street. They see me, but they try to ignore me.
In a flashback sequence, we hear Maggie say that Herschel has been missing bow staff practice. Now, a bow staff being a weapon that we've seen used many times before in The Walking Dead, primarily by Morgan and his apprentice, Henry.
Check your feet, because if your feet ain't right,
Nothing's right.
The mention of bow staves and these cool organ-ripping grappling guns are a reminder that this show takes place 15 years into the apocalypse, meaning that ammunition is really hard to come by. In season 2 of The Walking Dead, we hear Rick say,
"We gotta start using our knives more. We use our knives. We keep things quiet. We save ammunition."
And in season 7, we see Negan take Eugene back to the sanctuary to be his bullet maker.
that, my friend, is the bullet you made.
Next, we get some much-needed background on the Croat, a former member of the Saviors, the group that Negan once led. Negan reveals that he took in the Croat in the early days of the apocalypse, and that the Croat had been through some of the worst stuff imaginable. We also hear Negan say,
Everybody was looking for a little sanctuary from the hellfire we'd all been damned to. I mean, we'd lost everything.
and this is a reference to Negan's old home base, the Sanctuary. Now, let's keep in mind that while Negan is now a reformed man, we know that he can be gruesome. When we first met him, we saw him line up our group of survivors and beat 2 of them to death with a baseball bat. But even Negan was troubled by the twisted nature of the Croat. Maggie says,
It takes a monster to make one, I guess.
Negan quickly slaps this down to emphasize that the Croat was on a whole other level of monster. Negan also confirms that his twisted nature from seasons 7 and 8 were mostly him putting on a show.
I was only a monster when I absolutely had to be. When I had to put on a show to protect my people.
Negan references a scrummage with the Kingdom that was before Maggie's time, meaning before her group met Negan. We learned in season 7 of The Walking Dead that the Kingdom had been under the thumb of the Saviors long before we met either group. Now, say what you will about Negan, but he did have rules.
Rape is against the rules here. I wouldn't want to be somewhere where it wasn't.
Negan makes it clear that the Croat broke his rule and took advantage of a young girl after torturing her.
She was just a kid.
Negan attempted to take down the Croat and his like-minded saviors. He shot at Croat but didn't land a killing blow. The bullet only took off his ear. Last week we speculated that Negan was responsible for Croat's missing ear, but we thought it was likely melted off with Negan's infamous iron. So this reveals that the Croat and his band of misfits who broke away from the saviors are now a group of even more monstrous individuals than the saviors ever were. In last week's episode we saw the Marshal with a piece of paper that read Lionel Armstrong, Armstrong being Marshall's last name. Under this name we could see an apartment number and New York City address. This is the same apartment that we see Marshall go to in this episode where he finds his brother who has sadly taken his own life. On the floor, the Marshal finds his brother's rosary cross, and if Fast and the Furious has taught us anything, it's that the rosary cross means
Family.
When the Marshal is walking down this alley, we see him get caught in a trap, reminiscent of this trap in Star Wars Return of the Jedi.
Nice work.
So Ewoks took the Marshal?
No, I was just saying the traps are similar. It was actually the Croat who trapped the Marshal, and I am excited to see how these two antagonists are going to interact with one another. One being a full-fledged psychopath that would make Cletus Cassidy blush, and the other being a lawman who needs a serious tune-up on his moral barometer.
You better check yourself before you wreck yourself.
When Negan captures one of the Croat's henchmen who killed the Pigeon Lady, he drags him to the other room where more Croat henchmen are standing. Negan then brutally murders him to deliver a clear message of who they're messing with. But this time, instead of using the classic children's rhyme Eeny, Meeny, Miny, Mo to make his point,
Eeny, meeny, miny, mo.
he instead starts with a knock-knock joke.
Knock, knock. Who's there? Butter. Butter who?
Well, you better get out your umbrellas, because it is about to goddamn rain.
It's here that we see Negan take on the persona of his old self, putting on a monstrous show in order to protect his people. And ironically, Maggie is now on the other side of Negan's gruesome tactics, and is now one of his people. When Maggie sneaks in and witnesses this brutal display by Negan, she is visibly shaken. This is no doubt triggering memories of her own traumatic encounter with Negan more than a decade prior.
Back to it.
Beneath Negan's blood shower of the Croat henchmen, we can see a clock that reads 420. 420 being synonymous with the consumption of marijuana, which of course can get you high.
What's that mean?
I'll tell you later. Anyways, the pigeon lady was wearing a necklace with the Hebrew symbol for life, which is Chi. And Chi is often pronounced as, you guessed it, high.
So Pigeon Lady was hot?
No. Well, maybe, I don't know. That's not the point. The clock reading 420 could just be a coincidence. Maybe some stoner PA in the set design department thought it'd be funny to set your clock to 420.
You're not allowed to believe in coincidence anymore.
But the high symbol has a much deeper meaning for the show. Not only does it represent life, but it also represents an anticipation of good things to come. So, despite the deaths of the Pigeon Lady and Herschel's abduction, and even going back more than a decade to Maggie's tragedy at the hands of Negan, this symbol could be telling us that there are good things to come, such as Herschel being rescued from the Croat, and Maggie and Negan finally being able to bury the hatchet.
A hatchet?
Oh, sorry, I mean bury the baseball bat. I also think on a meta level that shows like Dead City are giving The Walking Dead new life, and there are good things to come from this franchise as a whole.
I think you're high.
You mean high?
That's what I said.
Okay, buddy, well those are all the Easter eggs and references that we found in this episode, but if you found any, let me know in the comments below.
Person, can you just get this guy off of me?
What do you want?
Do you have Homeward Bound, The Incredible Journey?
We don't have that one, get lost.
Drag. Bye.
And just a reminder to listen to Impact Winter, download Audible, and listen with our link in the description. You won't regret it, the series is great. But what did you guys think of this episode of Dead City? Let me know in the comments below or at me on Twitter. And if it's your first time here, please subscribe, smash that bell for alerts. For Screen Crush, I'm Ryan Airy.